On podcast. It's the Sutton podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United of the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this.
But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United, the National League, are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the second XU's Views, and I'm delighted to say I have a Sutton legend joining us today. There was talks of injunctions and stalkers and whatnot, but all it took for me to get her on was England winning the Euros. If I'd known that, I would have arranged it a long time ago. Hello and welcome, Faye. How are you?
Hello, how are you? I'm good. Hope all's well with you.
Very well. Have you finished crying? Were you in tears? Were you in shock? How were you on Sunday night?
Yes, it was. I mean, it was a good game, and obviously going 1-0 up, couldn't have asked for anything more. But I kept thinking it's still a long way to go. Still a long way to go, and the minutes were literally like dragging so bad, and I kept thinking, oh, come on. Is it only 1 minute's passed, and it felt like 10. And then obviously when they equalised, my stomach did drop a little bit, and I was like, uh-oh, is this going to be the downward spiral? We've had all the momentum, but now obviously they've picked up, and they're out for the win. And it was a bit of edge of the seat, bit of squeaky bum time. Not gonna lie, I was literally like, oh god. But obviously Chloe Kelly, up she steps, bangs in that goal, and I was literally then standing for the rest of the game, waiting for those minutes to finish. So, but yeah, I mean, I actually thought it was a very high tempo game as well from end to end. So it was really good to watch, which is encouraging because that's what you want from women's football.
Yeah, I'll tell you now. Even Rosie didn't tell me off for swearing when Kira Walsh sent that ball through, and I'm like, "That's a king ball," and Rosie kind of. Okay, I'll let that one go. And I actually strangely really enjoyed that last 10 minutes. I'd love to see the heat map of the ball because I'm convinced it didn't move out of that corner flag area. And her goal was brilliant, but Chloe Kelly keeping that ball there and winding up the Germans, I was jumping up and down. I was celebrating that.
Yeah, I know. It was just like bittersweet as well. Obviously, home turf. Winning, just obviously against the Germans. Everyone likes to beat the Germans just because of all the history with the football and that. And obviously the previous games we've not done as well against them. So it was almost like payback in a good way. So yeah, very enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, and there was a couple of things. My little joke, which fell a bit flat, I'm a bit gutted, but was, oh look, football, the women found football just where he left it at Wembley against the Germans. We're saying it wasn't there when we looked last time. But the other thing I mentioned, which I think is going to be quite relevant to you, is I'm a fairly latecomer to watching women's football. No sort of reason or big conversion. It's never really fitted in with my time. With obviously I go to football on Saturdays and most games are Sundays. But for people who have been fighting the corner for women's football for years, it must have been just so overwhelming, and the hopes of what this is going to springboard onto. I know you retired last year, but you still have lots and lots of interest in the game. But
yeah,
how do you feel about how this is going to springboard to the future?
Well, I mean, what was that? It was just shy of 90,000, I think, at Wembley, and that when I was playing as a kid, obviously starting out at the ranks, I was at Chelsea for a little while. I could only dream against, playing against teams like that with that amount of fans watching. unimaginable. Like, you never thought it would have happened. But from now, like, taking that momentum forward, it's just engaging all the youngsters. I think that, you know, that the whole country's got behind it now and are all trying to push. And I've seen so much on sort of the, you know, the Twitters and Instagrams. It's like, go and support your local women's team, go down and watch, and which would be great. Even for like Sutton, you know, if we got 150 people there, we were literally like celebrating like we were playing at Wembley, because you don't get to play in front of that many people. So I mean, I can imagine the noise that took off in Wembley must have been insane, and I would have loved to have been there, but I had to watch from the comfort of my front room, and I think I made up for some of the noise, to be fair, because it was quite a loud environment. but yeah, hopefully it spurs everyone to play and stay involved, because that's obviously the issue with girls, as we all know. They get to a certain age and decide they don't want to play anymore.
Yeah, I've said a few times, the usual reason you're given is boys and booze. Lottie played for a little while. I don't know where she got her talent from. It certainly wasn't me, but she just decided that, I think it was 15 actually. Now that's it. I've had enough. I don't want to. She wanted to concentrate on her exams. No matter how much I begged and pleaded, she just wasn't interested. But is that it for the drop off? Is it as simple as, oh God, boys don't like girls playing football, so therefore we don't want to? Because I'm a dad, that would annoy the hell out of me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's as stereotypical now, but definitely previously, like especially in my experiences playing football, all of the boys thought I was a boy, and you know, they're coming to me for advice on all my girl mates, and I'm like, oh hi, I'm a girl too, like, can you not be, you know, can you not like me? So there is that sort, you kind of feel like you're going to get like left behind a little bit, because like I say, they're all going out and, you know, doing bits and pieces, and you're playing football on a Friday night, as that's when I used to train. You know, all my friends are down the pub, and I was like, oh God, I'm missing out here. You know, what's going on? But now I think with the momentum of it and more people, it's not even accepting it, but it's just more girls are interested, and because the stereotype's not there, they don't mind playing football. And obviously, you know, we've got girls who will dress up, you know, absolutely dress up to the nines, and they look amazing, and you think, wow, you look like that on a Saturday night, and then a Sunday morning, you know, you're playing football. It's like you've got two different personalities. And this is what I always used to say. I was like, I'm a girl like Monday to Saturday, and then a tomboy on a Sunday. It was always kind of getting the mixture, where you don't feel like you're being outcasted almost, but involved in playing. So yeah, I think it's changed. It's definitely changed. So hopefully it'll carry on, and anyone and everyone will be able to get involved.
Well, yeah, this is one of the points I wanted to make, and without having you furious at me, I'm 48, I'm overweight, I'm unfit, and I'm rubbish at football. But I know if I decided I wanted to play football, there is a level of football that I could go and play. And it just isn't, well, it wasn't the same for girls. It was, you had to join in boys' teams, and then it was, oh, she's a girl, and oh, don't tackle her, she's a girl, and all that other stuff. Are you a tiny bit jealous of the kids now? Or
Absolutely jealous. I am so gutted that I am not literally like 30 years younger and starting out. Yeah, the opportunities that are out there, like I say, it's just incredible. There was never any professional women when I was playing. I've always had to pay subs. I've always, you know, contributed to the kit, or, you know, had to take it home and wash it. It's been all them sort of those sort of things. And now they're, you know, pros and all of the facilities, and they're up there with the men's. It's getting, you know, almost. I mean, it'll never. I personally think it'll be exactly the same as the men's. I just feel like the men's is just escalating out of control. But you know, they're trying, which is nice to see, because that was never an opportunity when I was sort of growing up and playing. And yeah, I really wish I could turn back the clock and I wish I'd never gave up for, I think I stopped playing for about 11 years. I wish I'd never done that. I played obviously with some of the girls who are in the England team or have been in the England squad. So there's always that part of me that's like, oh, if I'd have just stuck at it, would I? Could I? You know, could I have been that number 9 up there banging in some goals? But hey, it is what it is. And you know, they can't wheel me out now. I'm far too old.
Well, yeah. I mean, I know you said, and a lot of people have said it never reached the same as the men's. I don't know, because once advertisers start realizing this is the only room for growth, because men's football is kind of pretty much reached saturation point.
Yeah, true.
You can fill the big stadiums. Yes, all right. You can have people straight away going, yeah, but it was deals on tickets. Tickets are cheaper. Yes, but then tickets for men's game were cheaper all those years ago. It's only got more and more in price as the demand has gone on.
Yeah.
The difference, you can see the crowd at the men's and women's football, totally different atmosphere. And as a purely marketing mercenary git that I am, all I see is all those kids coming to football. That's stuff that they're going to want when they're at the football. That's stuff the parents are going to end up buying. Even if it's only a couple of quid, it's worth doing. Now, I'm selfish, so when I go to the men's football and it's a bigger crowd, I don't want to be watching out for Rosie. I'm going to be honest. That's why she doesn't come to me those games. I know a lot of people do bring their kids, but I'm really selfish. With the ladies' games, it's just so much calmer. The whole atmosphere, the whole kids go off and play together. And you guys engage with the kids on the sidelines. I think that's great. Jazz waved at Rosie, and that's what hooked us. Is Rosie wanted to go back then to see her best friend Jazz, and then you lot brought her out on the pitch, which I was furious about.
A week on and try and get out there.
I was like, she's been to 3 games. I've been 33 years, and not once have I ever been invited out on the damn pitch. But yeah, it's different atmosphere, and I'd like it to stay. I know we want bigger crowds coming. I don't dispute that at all. But I'd like it to stay like that, because I don't want it to become a mini version of the men's game where it's all come on.
Understand that it is. You know, they are just the pleasantries of the women's game is, you know, it is calmer. It's not as aggressive. You get your odd player that is, don't get me wrong, but most of the time it is a nice environment. Like, I'm happy, like Alex used to bring up obviously my children to watch the games, and he's a bit like you. He didn't really get to watch as much, because obviously my youngest is now 22 months, but he just liked running up and down the stairs at the stadium. So, you know, Alex was literally behind him all the time, following him up and following him down. Then I'll be like, did you see my goal? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh gosh, why do you even bother coming? Like, you know, and Ella, obviously, she loved it because she'd done a couple of mascot like trips out, and after the game, she'd always be like, oh, can I come in the changing room with you? And the girls would always make a fuss of her, and you know, it was nice when Darcy bought her little River. The girls used to sort of sit next to each other and chat, and then Ella would always be like, oh, I'm going to go and see my friend River now, you know, and it was just a nice environment for them to be in, as well as us enjoying being with the girls and enjoying our football, which is always nice.
Yeah. Let's come back to the bad for a second. I did read one tweet the other day where obviously we're talking about the momentum going forward and pushing it, and what was happening a lot is clubs were making a girls/women's team just to get the increased lottery funding. And this woman was like, yeah, there was 15 boys team, there was my team, and we got increased lottery funding. None of it ever made its way down to me for any equipment. Was that obvious from when you were playing younger? It was just let the girls play over there.
Yeah, it was basically like a tick box exercise. You know, if you have got a women's club in the team, like you say, you get a grant or you get some funding, or you know, and very rarely you get a kit, but generally that used to be a hand-me-down from, you know, one of the boys' ones that potentially they've worn for about 5 years, and it's not its best. It's faded. It's, you know, peeling off the sponsors that probably don't even sponsor that club anymore. You know, it's all that sort of thing. But Yeah, I think it's better than what it was, but historically, for sure, it was definitely like a club tick box. Let's get some more money. The girls can have that pitch over there. You know, they can do what they want as long as we've got someone just kind of looking over it. But you used to just kind of run yourself.
Yeah, but I've brought it up before when the other girls on. It's really important for girls to play team sports, especially with the current world, with the current media. Just literally, this is how you must look. You must look like this. You've got a certain way. I mean, I think it's great when big celebrities like Britney used to have a photo shoot come out, and then she's like, "Yeah, well, here's the real photos," and be like, "No, this is me." There's quite a few influencers on Twitter who will say, "Oh, look at this lovely picture of me," and now look at it from this angle. So there's a lot of work going on, but I read this study and it was that girls that play team sports do have, in general, a better body image, just simply from seeing other shapes and sizes. Would you agree there? Would you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you say, everyone is completely different. Obviously, I was one of the tallest. Bar Cindy, I think she beat me by maybe a centimetre or two, but I've always been one of the tallest ones, playing. And growing up being tall, I used to hate it. It was, one of them things. I was like, oh, I just wish I was a couple of inches shorter. But the only time I loved it on the pitch on a Sunday when I'm scoring headers, I was like, the only time I like being tall, because all the defenders around me are like, oh, how am I going to reach you? And I'm like, oh, not my problem, I'm going to do this. So it's definitely, because you think, some of them are a lot smaller, and you are all built differently. Obviously, some of us have had children, some of us hadn't. Some of, I always kind of struggle to just shift that extra little bit of weight, but that was always I put down to obviously getting older as well, because I was literally the oldest one in the team now as well, and it was kind of that thing that I always said, as long as I could keep up with the youngsters and I was still scoring the goals, I would hang it out for as long as possible. But it did get to that point where I think the children had to come past my glory hunting of goal scoring. But yeah, I mean, I think it definitely helps, and I'd want Ella to be in that environment, because I wouldn't want her to, think that she's got to look a certain way because she's seen someone on the telly or on the YouTube or whatever these kids watch. And I'd like her to sort of be involved in anything, whether it's football, whether it's dancing, gymnastics, I don't know, as long as it's something, so that she knows that everyone is different, but as long as you're kind and you're nice to each other, that's all that really matters.
Yeah, well, I the reason I did that research is Lottie was talking, my oldest was talking about giving up, and I really wanted to carry on, because she had quite a natural positioning for a defender. Where it came from, I don't know, but she was very worried about she couldn't pass so well, and it was like, well, that's all the stuff they can teach you. Honestly, they can teach you this. So I thought I'll try a different tactic. So I dug up this study, got all my arguments in a row, and I started it off with girls who play team sports tend to have a better body image. And she was, I think, 14, 15, and just looked me dead in the eye and was like, do I really look like I need a better body image?
Wow.
So at one point, I'm a very proud dad, because my job's done. And the other point, I was like, but I have all these arguments. Hang on a minute.
Wasn't prepared for that one.
No, that answer was you're supposed to be insecure. What's wrong with you? But you mentioned being tall and scoring lots of goals. It's one of those things I probably should have realised, but I didn't realise actually until this tournament started and people were explaining it. Yes, there's one of the criticisms about women's football is, the goalkeepers are awful. The goalkeepers are awful. The goalkeepers are awful. My sort of counterpoint used to be, well, hang on a minute, if you ban men's football for 50 years and then bring it back and let's see where we are then. But I didn't realise the goals are exactly the same height, which makes no sense to me, because on average women are about half a foot or so shorter than men.
True.
So,
I've never really thought about that, to be honest.
So you've got this nice little point here where you can just aim high.
Yeah. I mean,
so I think don't necessarily lower the goals for the women's football, raise it 8 inches for the men's. Let's have loads of goals in the men's game as well.
Yeah, Well, I mean, I've never ever just looked at it like that. I've always just, it's a standard size goal, and you're playing football, so that kind of is part and parcel of what comes with the rules and regulations almost. But I mean, it's a valid point. I mean, I don't know if we're now changing that. It would be a bit like, making exceptions for not necessarily the women if you're raising the men's bar, but it's still all associated. And if they're trying to kind of equal opportunities, everything, that's probably going to get shut down real quick.
Well, I'm just thinking it'll make, again, men's game way more goals. So we'll be like, whoa, hang on, this will be fun. But yeah, when this bloke said it on Twitter, he sort of went, you got to remember that women are on average about half a foot shorter than men. Obviously, there's differences. And as soon as he said it, I was like, hang on, so obvious. Why? It's not that they're rubbish goalkeepers; they're just a little bit shorter and balls going high.
And obviously, I've seen some real tiny goalkeepers, but they can cover the ground. But obviously, over the top, it is every time. Especially someone like me, I'm like, hey, come off your line a little bit more, and then you've got that opportunity, so you can always get in behind. But I mean, I've just never ever looked at it that way before, so. But I've been enlightened.
Excellent. You're going to come back out of retirement and just go high all the time. You'll be down Little League teaching your kids, go high, go high. You've mentioned your goals. I mean, as the FA have found out, not brilliant records have been kept all the way through. But when Sutton was reformed, you were there at the start. And it's 80 odd goals, is it?
Yeah, I was trying to pinpoint. I mean, I've not kept a record of everything, and I even tried to go back over like the league stats and stuff, but they only keep them up for a couple of years, so I couldn't get the exact amount. But on an average, I think it was about 83, 84, somewhere around that mark, which isn't bad considering I had 2 children and a year of COVID. So
absolutely. I wasn't going to say it wasn't bad. It was really damn good. I had the privilege of seeing the last one, probably the worst one.
I don't even know what happened. If you could ask me to talk you through it, I've got no idea how I even ended with my toe like that on the floor, just poking it past the keeper. I'm not sure what happened, but I'll take it. A goal is a goal.
Absolutely.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to Sutton United Talk Time on podcast, the Sutton Podcast. If you are new to the show, hello, and you are very welcome. Hope you enjoy what we do. It's a very simple format. We get a few people on to talk about the game that's just gone, and then we preview the next game coming up. We are available on most podcast platforms where you can listen, rate and review. If you find that we're not on your preferred platform, please let me know and I'll sort that for you. If anyone would like to support the podcast, you can find out how with more information on the website, which is www.suttonpodcast.com, and there's a tab where you can find out how to be a guest as well. Please find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and TikTok with the username @SuttonPodcast. Every like, follow and share is really appreciated. Hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Thank you.
I don't do huge amounts of research, but I have listened to a few of the interviews you've done post-match, and an extraordinary number of them was you saying along these lines of, bit gutted not to get my hat-trick, bit gutted I didn't get my hat-trick. Have you ever scored a hat-trick?
I have scored quite a few hat-tricks, but it's always on interview day. It's the day that I don't, and it's always that way. But it would have been nice that last game just to finish on the hat trick. But I've obviously playing a couple of games for the under-23s last season. I actually had 3 weeks of back-to-back hat tricks. So I was I wonder what that is, because obviously in like bowling that's a turkey. So I'm thinking, what was that? And funnily enough, one of the girls, Emma King, actually said to me, I had a dream that you scored 3 weeks, like 3 goals, 3 hat tricks. And on the last week, I was like, Kingy, you got it right. I was like, that's it, I've done it. So that was quite a nice feeling, because you go in obviously always wanting to score, and everyone always says to me, "Oh, hat trick today," and I'm like, "Well, I'll start with 1, and then I'll see how it goes from there." And obviously it's frustrating when you don't get on the score line, because that's what your job is. And even though you might win 4-0, if you don't get on that score sheet, you feel like you've had a crap game, and you know that you don't want to play anymore. I'm always like, oh, that's it, I've had enough.
That's it, I've done.
Yeah. But obviously the buzz is too much, and you always come running back.
Yeah. So when the club moved over to Sutton, were you with the club prior, or?
No, so we was with a team. We were based in Wallington, so we were called Surrey Eagles. And I think Sutton had tried numerous times to try and get a women's team formed, but there wasn't. It's hard, obviously, to find 11 female players at a fair enough standard to come in and kind of create a team. And it just kind of worked. It fitted all parties that we brought Surrey Eagles over to Sutton, and you know, we were already a fully formed team. And we came in once all the sort of necessary bits were worked out. We just then formed, you know, the Sutton United, which was ladies at the time, obviously moved to women later on. And then it's just kind of escalated from there. We went from like 1 women's team to now 3. So, you know, once you get that momentum going, we had sort of back-to-back promotions, which I think was obviously really good, because that drew players in. Because as soon as they start thinking, oh, hang on, Sutton are quite good, they're winning games, they're, you know, getting promoted, I want to go and play there, because you've got a bit of buzz about you, and you get those players in. Hence why I think it was able to form, you know, those extra couple of teams, which we've managed to carry on as well, which is obviously quite good.
Yeah, I mean the section's huge now. There was one, the age group that Lottie was at, they just seemed to never ever get a team out. So when it was under 13s, under 14s, under 15s, under 16s, it was just that particular age group just seemed to never ever work out. But other than that, they've got teams for everything. It's just brilliant. You walk through the rec on a Sunday and the kids are playing. Yes, obviously I'm biased because I've got 2 girls, but it's just brilliant to see the kids play football. And again, being totally mercenary, all of those kids will be Sutton United supporters at some point in the future. So
yeah, absolutely. And again, it goes back to saying, like when we were saying about me being jealous earlier. You know, if I had the opportunities that Sutton have got given youngsters now to, you know, progress and start and go up through the ranks, because obviously there was my local little league, which is where I sort of started, and then but from there obviously they did have scouts and stuff, so that was how I moved on to sort of Chelsea's, and I played at Wimbledon for a bit, but those opportunities would have been easier with Sutton, because you've already got that whole, you know, environment of all of the youngsters coming up, and it's easier for people to come into that ground and be like, right, we're coming down to see this, you know, section or whatever. So yeah, those opportunities were sorely missed at my young career, but I'm so glad it's so when I get Ella out there and she becomes the next number 9, I'll be pushing her forward for it. So she's got all the opportunities that I never had, so I'll live my life through her.
She'll break your heart. She'll be a defender.
Yeah.
Central defence. That's a...
yeah, probably the goalie or something. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, no, what are you doing? Be a goalie. Don't do that.
You lot are way harsh for goalies.
Yeah.
So I mean, coming into Sutton, obviously we've got that whole thing of a bolt-on side. It's slowly people trying to sort of raise the profile. I don't know. Well, you probably wouldn't know. The Sutton United forum for the men's, there was a little post talking about congratulations to the Lionesses, and I told my wife Sally, it descended into a bit of an argument, and she was like, "Oh, for God's sake, what they say now?" I went, "Oh no, you've misunderstood. They're getting very, very cross that this section on the website isn't being updated and they can't get information, and the fact that games don't seem to be as, or the league doesn't seem to be as structured, and here are your fixtures for the year. It's a bit ad hoc." And I said, so on the one hand, yeah, it's descending into a bit of a row, but on the other hand, it's a good reason why it's descending into a row. Are you kind of pleased to know that the fans are starting to go, no, actually, you know what, I'm gonna pop down and see what's going on there and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, you get such a good crowd on a Saturday for the men's team, and I remember being up towards the last game at home last season for the men's. And at half time, it was like, "Oh, come down to the women's game tomorrow." And that was the first time I'd ever actually heard it through sort of like the speaker systems. And I was like, "Oh, that's us, girls." Because we was all sort of watching. I was like, so it was nice to get it out there, even if 10 people turned up, but it might have been something that those 10 people didn't know happened on a Sunday down there or whatever. So to start hearing it, it is nice. I mean, I've been when I took Ella to school, and there was a guy there in a Sutton United cap, and we started speaking, and I was, "Oh, you like season holder?" And he was like, "Yeah, Faye, I am," and he knew who I was. oh my god! He's like, "Oh yeah, I know. You're part of the women's team, and you're selected this, that," and I was just like, "Oh god, this is really weird." But I mean, obviously he was very praising of it, and he was, "I'm going to try and get you out to some games," but it was very surreal for it's just like little old me just playing football on a Sunday, and this guy who wasn't actually a proper Sutton United fan literally knew who he was, and he knew how we were doing and how, the results we'd got coming through. So it was nice to kind of hear that we had a fan.
Well, I'm hoping still. I might have persuaded Ethan that what he wants to do is give me a call every week with an update of the games and the games coming up, so I can include it every single week. So just again, those little things of, what, the reason we popped down is Rosie was being a bit naughty, driving Sally nuts. So I was like, right, I know they're at home. Let me just pop down there.
Yeah.
And it happened the first couple of weeks, because I don't go to the away games for the men's. So the first couple of weeks, you guys were at home while the men were away. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to pop down. It gives me my football fix, and it gives her a chance. And as I say, the wave did it. So any football players, any football players listening, wave to the kids. It hooks them in. But yeah, we're sort of down every week, and the fixtures are working out really, really well for me over the next couple of weeks, because it is the home and away thing as well.
Perfect.
But one thing I missed to ask you, when the men's team got promoted, and obviously there was the whole issue of the pitch, were you aware of a lot of the worries that the fans were having, i.e. your team, where were they going to play? Were you aware that was kind of on social media? We were like, no, the men's team are going to have a pitch. We're worried about A, B, C, D.
Yeah. I mean, where it was one of those, again, like bittersweet moments, because obviously we want the club to get promoted. We're like, come on, we can do this. And then it happens, and it was like, oh, right. So now we've got to rip the pitch up. We've got to move and relocate, literally the whole girls and women's section. Didn't know how long really that was going to be for initially. And then there was obviously the worries, the pitch being played on still too much, and is it going to be all right for us to? And that's when you sort of get into the grounds of, well, it's the women's team, it's still part of the club. We should, in theory, be playing, but you can understand that a lot of money and time and effort has gone into that pitch. So, it's, again, you're like, oh, what do you do? But I mean, I'm not sure what situation they're at with them playing. I know that they're trying to make it all work. So obviously now I am sort of retired. I'm a bit out of the loop as such. But hopefully it'll all work out, and because you want that momentum, especially the men's team are doing so well, the women's team are now doing really well. You want people to still be talking about it and coming down. You're only going to attract better players, but if you can't play on the pitch straight away, it's, well, where are you playing? You don't want to be playing out in Collingwood in like the heavy rain when you're caked knee high in mud. It's not quite the same feel as it is playing on the carpet that is Gander Green Lane.
Yeah, I spoke to Will briefly a couple of weeks ago, and the agreement and the pitch will be used by the men's first team, the ladies first team, and I think the top academy team. So I think those three teams are the only teams playing on the pitch at the moment. Obviously, you don't know. I know there was a period last year where they had to move to Banstead, which was a pain for me because I can't get there. But I think that was to do with the sprinkler system at the time. Had
gone horribly
Didn't
wrong.
it?
So
Yeah.
I think we found out someone cut through a cable, but
Yeah. And didn't realise for 4 weeks or something. I heard.
Yeah, it was like, why are the sprinklers not working? And all these investigations went on. It's, there's a cable over the far side, marvelous. But yeah, so I think that's important. That the team's there, and I actually think the club needs to be doing a hell of a lot more to before England won the Euros. I was saying we should be promoting the crap out of the fact that our women are in the same stadium, because not a lot of clubs do that. Chelsea, huge club, very successful women's team playing Kingston.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, our team, one club, it's one club. So I think that's a big message. And again, being mercenary, the fact that we can go in and get a pint and walk around the pitch as well is you know what, guys, come on, come back. You can have a drink and watch football. But yeah, I think it's excellent. Yes, it's a different game to the men's game because it's different physical attributes, and it shouldn't be compared. I don't think in all my years have I ever seen the women's 100 meters champion crowned with a gold medal with comments of, but she wouldn't do that against the men, would she?
No, true.
No, that's the point. It's why it's two different races. We know that. So yeah, I don't ever really understand this whole concept of having to compare it. I do think it's a lot of people gatekeeping football and worried. So I don't care who comes to watch football or play football as long as I get my spot. I don't really care. Yes.
As long as it just continues to grow, I think that's the sort of standard in it. You know, it's just spiraling, so it just needs to keep on going up.
Keep on going up, absolutely. And I know they're promoting the WSL, and I know they kept saying it on TV, and there was lots of people all around the country twitching, going, "Hang on a second, WSL was like literally 20 teams or 12 teams, whatever it is." But can we not? I think it will filter down. People will be like, yeah, actually, you know what? There's a team just down the road. Let me go and see them. So lots of big hopes. But what does the future hold for Faye? I know you retired and that's it. You're done with football, and then you rocked up to the first friendly.
I have my boots in the car just in case. No, I mean, at the moment, obviously, retirement life is very nice. No pre-season in this. Well, I mean, not so bad today, but that sweaty heat when it was just, I couldn't think of anything worse than having to run around and get too hot in that. So that side of it, I'm very much like, I was never a fan of pre-season anyway. So I'm quite happy to be totally avoiding it, which is quite nice. I think obviously once the season starts, come sort of back end of August, September, then it might kick in a little bit more of reality that, you know, football is no more on a Sunday, and what am I going to do with my time as such. But I've prepped Alex, and I've said to him that he's got to take me to numerous pubs for lunches so that I'm distracted, and we've got to just basically try everyone in the vicinity of where we are so that I don't keep going to the same one. So that's the plan for Sundays at least. And then definitely when it starts raining and it's freezing cold again, I think the moment will be like, I'm glad that I'm not there right now. That side of it. Decided just to take a sort of a step back from it all completely at the moment. I think it was been such a big part of my life for so long. What with children now, I just want to spend a bit more time with them. And then hopefully what I'm hoping is within the next sort of couple of years, I'll either get back into it. I'm not necessarily coaching. I'm not really a fan of, I don't think that's really my bag. I'm not sure, or managing. I'm not one to be like, you're on the bench this week. I'm a bit soft touched for that. I wouldn't want to hurt anyone's feelings and stuff. So, but maybe, you know, just taking a few drills for the strikers, or, you know, that sort of thing, I'll be quite happy to do. And some of the more behind the scenes background sort of stuff, making sure that, you know, we've still got the numbers and, you know, promoting it to keep everyone interested. So it's something I probably will come back to, but for the time being, it's just sort of me and the family just and spending some quality time together, dragging them along to watch on a Sunday, of course, because I'll need my little fix as well. Although I do get there and then I think, oh God, why am I not playing? Why am I watching? It's really frustrating. So there'll be many games like that, I think, as well. But yeah, so that's the plan at the moment, and then just sort of see how it pans out, I think.
Excellent. Well, on the not wanting to drop players, you'd have to teach the kids, because then all of them get a certain amount of time. So you can be like, yeah, I'll do that. I can just pick their names out. Well, enjoy it. I mean, it's a wonderful career throughout, and at Sutton as well. And yes, the word legend isn't bandied around very, very, very lightly. I don't pull a face. They can't see that. They can't see that face you just pulled.
Seems weird, but yeah.
Several people said it to me, so so it wasn't one person being polite. It was several people in different conversations. So
it's only because I'm part of the furniture. They feel like they got it.
Yeah. Who's that? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, enjoy the retirement, and a terrible hardship for Alex having to go to all these different pubs. I'm sure he'll be utterly gutted. And when you do come over, come around to the curve a bit, so Ella can join in with a very, very competitive bottle flipping competitions that Rosie and Bruce have kind of don't know why, but they've got very competitive, and they've got this very convoluted scoring system going on. So no idea.
So she'll be there for sure. She loves
a
bottle flip.
It's like, we brought you to watch the game, kids. Can you just pay a passing attention? And then what's worse, because Bruce is Ryan, who comes to the games for his son. So what's worse, they sit there the whole time flipping the ball and whatnot, and it's okay, whatever. And as soon as that half-time whistle comes, they run up to the barriers, and they'll be sitting there telling Gabby or Jazz, "Oh yeah, I've been watching." No, you haven't, lying little brats. But they love it, so it builds a love of football. Rosie she's literally just turned 5. Most upset, apart from the final, all the way through. Every time I was watching the football on telly, she was like, "Is it the boys or the girls?" It's the girls. And just like, okay. And then, why aren't they wearing yellow? It's like, no, baby, not every team has to wear yellow. And then she loses interest. But the final, she understood that was a big game, and we'll finish on that again, because that was just brilliant, and the joy that it's brought to everyone as well. So thank you very, very much for your time, and I'll leave you alone for a little bit now.
Yeah.
All right, take care. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
United!